Welcome to the Focal Insights Podcast Founder Hour edition, hosted by co-founder Joe Pollock. Joe has been in the e-commerce industry for over 25 years. He grew and bootstrapped his own startup to a successful exit. Founder Hour episodes go behind the scenes to learn how some of the best e-commerce brands were founded, grown, and operated straight from the founders themselves. Founder Hour is brought to you by Focal Software, a new generation ERP and operation suite for e-commerce brands and third-party marketplace sellers. Focal was built with SMB brands and marketplace sellers in mind to help them grow profitably. Now let's welcome our host, Joe Pollock.
Hello and welcome to the Focal E-commerce Insights podcast, where we chat with e-commerce entrepreneurs about business, selling online, and how to overcome challenges for success. Joining us today is Martin Pytela.
It's
Martin
Pytela.
What's that, Martin?
Oh, I say it Pytela, but go for it.
Pytela. Yeah. Okay, Martin Pytela. Martin was born in Czechoslovakia, has a bachelor's degree from the Prague University of Economics and Business. Starting in 1981, he spent 20 years in information technology, following alongside the microcomputer revolution. In 1992, he was the #1 salesperson at Hewlett-Packard in all of Canada. In 1996, he started Internet Exchange, which was an internet startup similar to eBay. In 1999, he started an online health store called Enthusiast, which he has grown to a $2 million business, surviving many big tech censorship challenges in the process. In 2022, he acquired Exula Foods, which is an in-house product manufacturing company, and Martin currently lives and works in Victoria, BC, Canada. Martin, welcome to the podcast.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me, Joe.
All right. Thank you very much for joining. Now, I always wonder about how people get into being in business for themselves or entrepreneurship. And when I see your background in the 80s and your work with Hewlett-Packard, those were very, very, let's say, exciting times for the computer world and the precursor to the internet, really. So you were involved in all that stuff, but how did you go from that corporate world to doing things on your own or your own business?
Yeah. There are some beautiful war stories to tell. I joined the microcomputer world in 1981 in March, and it was September when IBM PC was released. So back when, we actually had a CPM and Oasis and whatever 8080 based machines, Z80 chips, stuff like that, right? I mean, Apple IIc was a real thing in my world when I joined in. We were running things on floppies. A 360 kilobyte floppy was a memory storage device worth 320, my. And I remember Bill Gates saying, who would ever need more than 640 kilobytes of memory?
Yeah.
Right?
It was a lot back then.
And so I actually was right there teaching people about what was a word processor. What was a word processor? And I was explaining what desktop publishing was and what computer-aided drafting was and stuff like that. Like I was the guy who was teaching a whole bunch of Canadian microcomputer sellers how to actually do this and how to sell it and what that actually meant. And I remember a 10 megabyte hard disk at $10,000.
Yeah. Wow.
Right? Those were the days.
Yeah. And that's
And then, so graduates that with the industry, like early on, we were in high margin, high touch, high service requirement. And that was slowly becoming commoditized as more and more sellers were coming in and they were just taking away the margins and selling on price. And we stayed selling on service. And so we became less and less relevant as time went. Volumes were not ours. And so I switched. I was a manager of a branch for a distributor. And then I was the, division manager for the seller. That 1992 award, I still have that leather jacket and pictures from the cruise ship trip that they gave me.
That's awesome.
As the winner of the, like I was the biggest, the mostest, whatever. We sold the most. for the region. So it was interesting days. So I was in microcomputers. I was involved with technology, like fully steeped in it. And I did accounting. I mean, my original education is computer science and business administration.
Mhm.
So that's the whole deal there.
Yeah, and then you started in 19 I forget what the year was there, 96. You started an internet-based
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
business. Now that was
Friend
very
and I,
early.
yeah, friend and I saw it, right? Like we saw the rise of in 1993, the internet began. Uh,
Mhm.
the first browser and stuff was coming our way, and so we said we have to.
Mosaic, I guess, right? Was the original, the first browser.
I think it was called Netscape.
Yeah, Mosaic turned into,
Mosaic, yeah, Mosaic, yeah.
yeah, Netscape bought
Netscape was the name that I remember, and
Yeah,
Alta Vista is the search engine.
yeah, I remember those.
Yeah.
So just curious then, were you seeing, so the internet was fairly new. Were you seeing the power of it obviously you were starting a business, but did you ever imagine e-commerce would be, the $6 trillion industry back then?
Well, we saw it as the potential. We understood that it was there. And
Mhm.
when what we started building was just with nothing, right? On a cash flow of a computer support business where we were helping people install units and whatever, we were taking money as service organizations, selling systems and maintaining and whatever, training people. But we started a software division, and that thing we had a plan, and the plan was that we will create a support for trades. We saw the e-commerce as the absolute cherry on top. And I remember defining that trust was going to be the most important commodity of the future age. I didn't know that it was going to look like blockchain, but I knew that trust was going to be important. And so we wanted to provide it with the middle, an escrow type of a thing, where the seller has goods and the buyer has the desire, but they don't know one another. And we want it to be the middle where the seller will part with the goods and the buyer will part with the money. And when the buyer says, I'm okay, we will release the money to the seller.
So it was somehow getting a digital form of money, cash into escrow.
Yeah, yeah, it was essentially the equivalent of what eBay and PayPal became in
PayPal, yeah.
in the future, right? It was
Mhm.
the I wanted to deliver the trust so
Yeah.
that they could trust me with my reputation and guarantees and didn't have to trust one another.
Yeah, that's really interesting because that was for many years and still is to a lesser degree the number one obstacle or
Yeah,
roadblock to e-commerce was
yeah.
trusting putting in payments. And there were no payment platforms back then.
No, no.
They
And
didn't
right now,
exist.
for example, eBay has become the biggest fence shop for stolen goods.
Yeah.
I mean, I myself now, as an e-merchant, I'm having to watch like a hawk because my goods get listed on eBay, sold there at a discount, and then that eBay seller comes to me and buys it from me at full price, except with a stolen credit card. And so
Wow.
uh, it cost him nothing. It cost me everything. The I remember catching it when it first happened to me. I was just shocked. Where I called the buyer to whom we delivered it, and he explained to me, well, I bought it on eBay and they drop shipped it to me. And I said, yep, that was me. I sent it to you. And I'm holding the bag because they paid for it with a stolen credit card. I'm out the
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, I
I,
know black market products are a big concern as well.
yeah, e-commerce fraud is a big deal.
Hmm.
Anyway,
So
that's besides the point. Yeah.
So you mentioned something too. Since we're talking about e-commerce and the trust factor, you saw that very early on as being a concern. And you mentioned something a few minutes ago that I believe is going to eliminate these problems in the future, which is blockchain.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a little bit about that? I'm very curious what your thoughts are on how
Okay.
I believe that will eliminate all need,
Yeah.
all fraud and the
Yeah.
ability to
Well,
identify people.
Yeah, as a merchant, right? Like I sell hard goods, I sell health food store contents, so vitamins, minerals, supplements, that sort of thing. That's my thing. And as I sell it, I'm having to pay to credit card companies 2 to 4% cut from the transaction. And I'm watching PayPal take, I don't know, $30 out of $1,000 transaction for having done nothing for it. I just feel so offended by me having to give them that money because they deserve it not. I mean, what did they do? Okay, they have some systems and they have some risk, but hardly much. Anyway, the blockchain, as I see it, will introduce into this scary situation the level of trust where we can have these transactions as trustless. Meaning this, the seller commits the money, the buyer gets the money. And actually, we're getting close to that. I think the new administration is talking about the digital, what do they call it? The dollar that's living on the blockchain. There's a name for it that escapes me. But it's already out there, like USC and UST are two different forms of the dollar that's backed by treasuries and is digitized and
Stable coins.
Stablecoin is the word. Thank you for thinking of it. Yeah. And I cannot wait for the day when the stablecoin is going to be in the wallet of everyone, every shopper online, because that will wipe out PayPal, it will wipe out Visa, it will wipe out MasterCard.
Yeah.
Good
You
riddance.
use the word trustless, and a lot of people get hung up on that, thinking that you can't trust it. But what it means is that you don't need to trust a third party that's providing a middleman, essentially, that's taking part of that transaction. You eliminate that, and it's largely peer-to-peer.
Right. The middleman is the blockchain software itself. And the blockchain, you asked me to talk about that. Well, for example, basis of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is an application running on top of blockchain, and it tells us that we can know all the way back to the beginning how the coin was born and who held it when. Full chain of custody all the way to the beginning. And so the dollar that you will buy from me that's in the digital form, or that you will hand to me in its digital form, I will know that it's a real dollar, and you will know that you're getting the real goods from me.
Yeah, and technically there is some friction in that system where there are some quote unquote fees, but in your example of the $30 fee, it's probably going to be more like a penny, like 1 cent or something like that. But it does oil the network, I guess you could say.
Yeah, right. Like 5 cents, 25 cents per transaction, which, by the way, for example, you would know it, as the exchange charges me 25 cents for the transaction. It charges me 10 cents to verify the card. It charges me 2.5% for the interchange. Plus, it charges me $25 to $35 a month for the privilege and so on. Like they nickel and dime me pretty good.
It's a massive amount when it adds up over a year or 10 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, to sum up on the blockchain, I do believe that the biggest obstacle, especially for large dollar purchases, like let's say a car or something online, that apprehension or that lack of trust or doubt is going to go away in the future. And then that really is going to be a big boost to e-commerce, because then there's really no reason, no fear at all.
Yeah, there's this thing about banking. It's called DeFi, decentralized finance, that will also take away a lot of juice from the big banksters who are living high on sucking money out of the system. And again, undeservedly.
Yeah, agreed completely. Okay, so then in 99 you started your health product company, and
Yeah.
that's currently what you've been with. So many years running that.
Yeah,
Uh,
we went online 2002 with
mhm.
3 brands and expanded it as it went to about 60 brands that we support. So those are the vendors to me. We have about 1,000 products currently that we sell. And what to say about it? I think I'm on the 4th or 5th incarnation of the website.
Mhm.
Yeah, because technology keeps changing. The early days between 2003 and 2007 or 8 were kind of straightforward. That was still mostly digital with the browser on top. But it was desktop computers. And then Apple put out iPhone and the handheld device revolution kicked in. And by 2010, it was totally obvious. A third of my traffic was coming in from a small screen handheld. So I needed to do something about that. Now, today, I think 65% of traffic is on a handheld platform. It's just shocking. I'm having to serve my business on a tiny little screen.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, is that the most difficult part of that platform, mobile devices, is the payment part of it. So what we just talked about too is going to simplify that quite a bit. If you have the device and you're logged into it, then everything's good. It's your money to spend, and it'll be very, very easy to do that in the future.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit more about the website too, because you said you've switched, so you were e-commerce from the start. Is that correct?
Yes.
And
Yeah,
you built,
I actually coded the first website myself.
okay.
I think I used Microsoft bought them. What the heck was that called? Not framework. Front page.
Front page, okay, yeah.
Yeah, front page was the thing. Then I later used Dreamweaver or something like that.
Hmm.
And so the early version was just me coding it.
Okay.
And um I think 2006 or 7, we went onto something called OS Commerce. It was actually a really good platform, but it did not do well with the mobile device. So I actually had a hand in doing it. I think it cost me somewhere around 60 or $70,000 to build it because I custom built it. I mean, I hired people to do it, but it was heavily customized and it was super efficient because I'm a systems engineer,
Mhm.
both the front end and the back office, and especially the back office were fine-tuned to what I needed. But then I said to the programmers, help me get on small screen. And the discussion was, should we do it in OS Commerce 3 or should we go with Magento? Those were the choices. And Magento back then was a total pig for resources. And since we were on OS Commerce 2, I said, well, let's try it OS Commerce 3. But that was a fatal blow because I didn't know it. They were on alpha version and there were multiple branches and we kept developing and burning through money and it just was never right. It just couldn't, it was just not stable. I just never achieved what I set out to do.
Yeah, and I think there were a lot of people having that struggle. And then you saw the emergence of these e-commerce specific website platforms like Squarespace, Shopify, WooCommerce. So where did you end up moving toward?
Yeah. And so about that time, I was selling CBD products in 2012. And by 2014, there was the beginning of the pushback from the pharmaceutical industry on that. And all of a sudden, the merchant processors sent me a notice saying, how did they word it? We are exiting this relationship. We're giving you 7 days to find a new provider. It really sucks. All of a sudden, you're losing your ability to process credit cards and you're scrambling like something.
Yeah.
So now I have 3 credit card processors. I'm paying 3 different fees. I just don't trust anybody.
Mhm. So
anyway,
you've spread your risk across 3 to make sure you've got backups.
so right back then, Shopify gave the CBD sellers 30 days to deplatform. And I thought, well, if they can do this for CBD, they can do that for anything. So I don't want to be on a Shopify platform, not because I don't like it, it's good. But I don't trust them to not kick me off because I am selling things that the pharmaceutical industry does not like. They are not for me. They see me as a nuisance. To them, I'm like a mosquito that just keeps buzzing around.
Yeah.
And I get slapped a lot.
So go ahead with your website evolution, I guess.
Right, yeah. So I fell upon a company called Shopping Cart Elite, which was it was sold to me like it will do everything, we'll customize it, well, yeah, everything, blah, blah. They demoed it very successfully. On a demo, it looked awesome. So I committed to it, and $30,000 later, and 2 years in, I did not have an affiliate program. I did not have useful inventory management, even though it was promised, right? Just never got delivered. So I kicked it off and I switched to WooCommerce, which at that point seemed like a reasonable play because it was independent. I own my destiny when I'm on WooCommerce. It's a open source, modifiable, anybody can hack into it. Oh, by the way, anybody can hack into it. It's the most hacked platform out there. 30%
has always been that way, yeah.
Yeah, 30% of the internet runs on it, or e-commerce anyway. And so it's popular, but also dangerous.
It's a big target.
Yeah, so I was on WooCommerce, finally had an affiliate program, finally had a decent way of doing things. And what else happened? Well, I was on it until about a month ago. That's when I disconnected it. But going forward, I was also working on business acquisition. One of my suppliers, well, I'll say it this way. We specialize in selling goods that are made by companies that care deeply about quality rather than about their own bottom line. Most of the brands we represent are companies that are owned by the founders. They are high quality products. The effect for the consumer is way beyond compared to something similar that's owned by some publicly traded, nameless, faceless, whatever entity that cares about the bottom line more than they care about the outcome. So anyway, one of the suppliers passed away in 2020. And so I ended up acquiring the business. So now I'm in manufacturing as well as e-commerce. And I needed a software that would manage the manufacturing. I needed manufacturing, bill of materials, inventory management, ERP, all of that nonsense. And I was considering Zoho, but that doesn't have it. I knew QuickBooks, that I didn't like how that worked. So I finally fell upon Odoo. That's Odoo, Odoo. And that was 2 years ago. I said, okay, let's go there. And I made a down payment. And the expectation was that I was going to be online in 4 to 6 months. Took
And
26.
I'll just mention in here real quickly, Martin, so Odoo is a e-commerce. They say they're an ERP. I don't think they're technically an ERP, but they do have a lot of features. They're a competitor of Focal Software. So
Yeah.
this will be interesting to hear your story
Yeah. Okay.
as it relates to how you
Yeah.
got on
They're
board.
actually, yeah, they're actually European design, and
Mhm.
they're actually a very big business software. Like Hyundai uses it, Toyota uses it, very large companies use it because this thing it has all the overhead of just going super big. You can run thousands of users on it successfully.
Mhm.
And it's both open source, and you can run it on your own server, or you can use their server hosted on theirs. So you always have the option of either staying on the corporate server or just taking your code and running it on your own thing. And the license is kind of seductive in the sense that you pay $37 a month per seat. So you can actually, if you don't have a lot of need for identifying individual users, you can make it really cheap. But it's not very friendly. I ended up having something like 10 licenses, so I'm paying something like $370 a month for the business as we have it. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, and you mentioned too that initially when you spoke with them, you were supposed to be onboarded. I think, did you say 30 days?
No. I was expecting that it would take me 4 to 6 months.
Oh, okay.
There is customization. There is a heavy customization for it. The out-of-the-box shopping cart or website design was not to my liking, so I had the developer create this thing. I had a custom affiliate program or an existing affiliate program modified to my liking. I needed a credit card processor customized and this and that. There are a whole bunch of plugins that I needed that needed to be developed.
So it took some time to get up and running. Sounds like you just got it up and running
Yeah.
online recently. How's
Yeah.
it going?
Well, instead of 6 months, it took 26 months. And the biggest challenge was they told me, listen, you should not try to bring your historic data to your new platform. You should just leave it there as a lookup and just start fresh. And I said, no, I think I want to have it under one roof. I want to see historic record.
That's the point of a software like that, is to have your whole
Yeah.
business history.
Yeah. I think that decision cost me about $30,000.
Mm.
Anyway, it was interesting. So, okay, looking back now at what I have, so I really have an awesome tool for managing manufacturing. I have a reasonable tool for managing inventory, but it's more complex than what I need. The accounting is enterprise friendly. It's not optimized for e-commerce. So it's more work than I like. It's just it's just like it's just like taking your 18-wheeler trailer to go buy 2 cases of beer kind of thing.
A little
It's an overkill, right?
too much for the needs.
So God willing, I'll grow this enterprise to 2 billion instead of 2 million a year, and then it will be all perfectly justified.
Yeah, I'm just curious on the accounting side, you say it's not well suited for e-commerce. What do you mean specifically with that?
Well, you want to have, for example, an easy view of the transaction as it goes through its life cycle, right? Like somebody places an order, the order has been sent to fulfillment, the fulfillment took care of it, the tracking number has been sent to the customer, the order has been split, there's a back order. I would like to see it all in one and then just single click. I would like to see instantly what stage any order is in. Like, are there any back orders that I need to call the customer about? Or is there anything gone bad. Has somebody placed an order on a link that's a month old or something like that, right? Like they start an order, it gets a code, right? Like the order is 200,000 and we're now on 230,000 and the 200,000 is still sorted in the numeric sequence and it's I don't know what, many days old and it's on screen number 4. It should be popping in front of me, but it isn't.
So you're having to spend a lot of time searching for things that should be easily available.
Right. Or I'm spending money on a customization that's going to make it obvious.
To make it work that way. Yeah.
Right. So the yeah, that's that. The flexibility, you know, the user management. I have a huge amount of granularity about managing the users, giving them rights to do this or that. So in a big organization, that's needed. You have 6 layers of management and you have different levels of minions doing different things. In a small business with 20 people like we are, we know one another and the trust level is much higher. I don't need that granularity, but I have to configure it. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, that brings us up to date here currently. Now, since your background, you've sort of seen the future in technology and online a couple times in your career. Just curious, when we talk about the future, e-commerce is growing something like 6 trillion now, predicted to be 8 trillion in a few years. What do you think is coming online that you're going to take advantage of, or that people should look out for in the future?
I think AI is the big buzz. I think it's a big deal. I think it's going to change the search thing. One of the big things was, how do you get eyeballs on your website? Right? Like that's the thing in e-commerce. How do I acquire a new contact? And I could go into Facebook and pay them money so that they would show them something. I could go to Google and pay them to show them something and have them come to my website. I think the AI interface is going to take away Google Ads. It looks to me like that's going to disappear, because now instead of seeing 50 links or 10 links at a time I typed in, give me a solution for my sore knee, and 10 websites would come up or 100 websites would come up. Now it's going to be a conversational piece that's going to say, well, you know, sore knee might be caused by this and that and whatever. I don't need to get into the medical diagnosis of it, but let's just say that you could use some herbals and some minerals and some exercise and some detox. Those would be the 4 areas. Well, you'll now get it in a tiny little article from the AI telling you that that's what you could do. And then when you click through, where will it send you? I don't know, 1 or 2 websites.
Yeah, you're right. That AI component, if we're talking about Google specifically, is really taking over that valuable real estate where there used to be sponsored ads. I wonder how they're going to monetize that, or they're almost removing their own revenue stream.
Oh yeah, right, you are. That is exactly I don't know what's going to come of Google or Facebook or whatever. So my take on this will be, for my space, I'm in the space of helping people with chronic metabolic degenerative illnesses, everything that you would label as aging, anything that takes away your function, right? I think my happy place will be micro influencers, people with podcasts, people with stuff that somebody's watching. Like this podcast right here, I want you to have a health coach corner, and once a month have me on and not talk about e-commerce, but instead of talk about health, because every e-commerce owner will need to have their personal health to enjoy their life. So I want you to give me the space to address your audience and find out if they're interested. I believe they are going to be interested. And so I want you to host me, I don't know, once a week, once a month, now and then, and say, let's talk about health. And I especially am looking for something that's interactive because I'm good at that. I can answer anything off the top of my head. So until the AI is smarter than me, that may take maybe a year, two. Then I can't be readily replaced, but I will probably be replaced. I would want to replace me with an AI and put that AI onto my own website and just say, all right, this is Martin's brain talking. Everything I knew, I put in here. So I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think on the AI side, you talk about these AI agents, and what it appears to me is that people will not need a search engine like Google, because the AI agent, your assistant, whatever you want to call that AI, can just answer questions and find information for you conversationally, which
Yep.
is more of a human function that we're used to than typing in search queries and finding
Right.
an index of websites.
And so my challenge as an e-commerce provider will be, how do I get my information to your agent? Because you will have your own concierge and you will be asking your concierge to find you the info. How will that concierge look up or hook up with mine?
That's
I
a
don't
good
know.
question.
I don't have the answer yet, but
Probably things that have some kind of social proof to them, like a micro influencer that has a very loyal following, and that
yeah,
AI is going to know that, hey, this guy's got 50,000 people that listen to him and take his recommendations on how to fix knee pain. So I'm going to deliver this guy.
yeah, yeah, I like that. That's my hope.
Yeah, yeah. And I think those, like you said, the micro influencers, that is going to be important. They're very loyal, and they're they're just very loyal, and it's a very specific niche, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
I've
so
talked to a
anyway,
lot of people
yeah,
that when an influencer puts out their product, or says,
yeah.
hey, to their group, you should try this, the orders come flying in.
So for my specific niche is that health, that's everybody, right? So I can be on any platform, including yours, just like this conversation that we're having here now. You could end up endorsing me after I fix whatever ails you, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm hoping that I will be on newsmakers and whatever makers. So that's, you ask me how I see it. I see it as completely embedded.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. Okay, how about general tips for anybody that wants to get into business on their own, since you had a very high-tech corporate life and you switched to a on your own entrepreneurial life? What tips do you have for anyone that wants to get into it or start their own business or their own e-commerce business?
All right, start with a Myers-Briggs um, personality evaluation and make sure that you have the personality for this, because you're going to be alone a lot. You're going to be taking a lot of arrows and you're going to be facing a lot of adversity. So make sure that you have the personality for it. If you are easily demotivated, don't bother. I promise you it's going to be hard. It's highly rewarding, right? Like, it's, once you do it well, it's awesome. But I'm at the top of my field in the sense that I spend 1.5 to 2 hours every day learning new stuff. That is a lifetime commitment. Okay. That is like, I constantly ingest judicially selected, carefully curated new information, professional stuff for managing my business, professional stuff for managing my customers, and all of that. That's a commitment you need to be prepared to make, because you're going to be competing with guys like me. And internet is scary because there's only one main street, there's only one downtown. Back when local business That's really cool. If you provide service that is belly to belly, like a deli or a massage or a haircut or a plumber or anything that is local, you can win in your local marketplace by making Google your friend and having reviews and stories and videos and talking about it, and a YouTube channel that explains to people, and just pull in all kinds of content toward yourself. You'll be fine. But if you're competing with like what I'm doing, my competition is Amazon. That's tough. And my other competition is the pharmaceutical industry, because I am the alternative to them. And so I'm in a business place that's about as hard as you can find.
Yeah, and the couple things you touched on there, the barriers to entry to an e-commerce business are not that big. You can get online and you can be selling something online, but the competition there is worldwide. It's everyone in the world
Yeah.
versus a barber shop.
Yeah. Yeah, that the makers of the tools tell you that it's easy. Sure, it's easy to get started. It's super hard to actually amount to anything.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be alone in an echo chamber talking to yourself.
Yeah.
So if any one thing is, start building a list. People to whom you are an influencer. You need to have that. If you only have 20 people on your list, well, you better sell a high-end solution that's going to be big enough to make you a living.
Yeah,
If
with 10
I'm
with 10
in
customers.
micro, yeah, I'm in small transactions. My transactions are averaging around $150 with a profit of about 25% after expenses. So that's a lot of transactions. If I do it on Amazon, just contemplate this. They take 15 points off the top, then they take shipping, handling, whatever, this and that. Like, and then there's a competition. If you don't own your brand, you will end up competing with big money. I used to have a pretty decent business on Amazon selling third-party stuff. But the vendor, some of the vendors decided to heck with it. I'm going to be the only seller of it on Amazon, and told me to buzz off. And others, they just don't care, and they will sell to any punter. And all of a sudden, my margins are shrinking to the point where I'm putting out $100 and I'm making $6 or $7 on that.
Yeah, you forgot the advertising fees as well, which is
Well,
now
no, after all that, right?
as
So
important as ever.
yeah,
Mhm.
so if you're not super careful, and I've watched it, a friend of mine, a colleague in the business, didn't watch carefully and decided that he was going to compete for the buy box, and he missed a couple of things. And he actually competed for the buy box, and he was down $20,000 inside of 3 months. Down, like negative.
Yeah. Yeah, mistakes. Like you said, it's easy to get on Amazon as a platform, but it's also easy to make mistakes. And they almost, and Google did this in the past, they almost design it so that they make a lot of money off your efforts, whether they are good or bad. And even when it appears to be successful, you may not be making any money. You're moving a lot of product, but you're
Yeah,
not profitable.
yeah. It's a lot like real estate, in the sense that everybody wants to have the waterfront mansion, but you only have a midtown townhouse budget. And
Right.
so it's really easy for Google to take all of your money, just like you said. The advertising cost is an auction. And so just like the real estate, you're bidding on the spot. And if your margin is not fat, and if your cost of acquisition is not going to be able to, no, it's the other way around. If you cannot absorb the cost of acquisition of the sale, you're going to be priced out of the market.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's tough, definitely tough.
It is. And oftentimes e-commerce becomes a volume game, which is why it's so important to have your operations completely nailed down, visibility to all your fees, so that you know what you're spending, where it's going, and how much money you're making or
Yeah,
losing.
this is the focal software pitch. You're saying it without saying it, but really having your costs closely monitored, dialed in, understanding where you're spending money, what you're getting for it, it's critical in this business, and it will be even more so as the consolidation is underway. It continues.
Yeah. When you talk about a high volume, low margin game, you have to be able to understand every little piece that goes into these transactions.
Yeah. So to any startups, if you have a local niche by physical location and you're providing something that's delivered locally, your competition is only the guys that are in your local space. You're good. You don't have huge competition. You just have to be the best of them. But you only have to be best of 10 or 20 or whatever the number is. If you're competing with the world, now you have to be top 10 of a very, very big crowd.
Millions.
Yeah. So watch what you pick. You need to be really good at something, or you have to be in a small pool, right? It's easier to be a bigger fish in a small tank because when you go into the big tank, the size of the fish that you'll encounter will boggle your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're bigger.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, we're as we start to wind down the podcast, Martin, I always feel curious to hear more about whoever I'm talking to, their products. And so I feel like our listeners are probably wondering, hey, what's Martin talking about? He was talking about knee pain, aging. Why don't you tell us more about your products, where people can find your website or reach
Okay.
out to you if they're interested in those products? Because I know
Okay.
you've got some good stuff.
Right. So the business itself is called Life Enthusiast, and the website is life-enthusiast.com. And what you'll find there is anything and everything that will help to restore vitality to you and to the planet. That's our motto. And it deals with this. Chronic disease stands on 4 pillars, or 4 wheels if you want: stagnation, trauma, toxicity, and malnutrition. The trauma is stuff that happens to you that makes you less effective because you make bad choices. It's stuff that should be resolved, and it's an emotional, subconscious stuff that most people don't talk about, but it's important. Stagnation relates mainly to movement, exercise. We are a sedentary society thanks to the gadgets that we have acquired, and we're not designed that way. We need movement. And so we focus on that, explaining to people that if they allow stagnation to set in, they will putrefy, they will rot from within. Toxicity is something that comes with the industrial age. We are now living with toxic air, water, food, cosmetics, furniture. Stuff is gassing off,
Clothing.
the clothing.
I thought I'd throw clothing in there.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. The iron-free shirt that's coated with Teflon type of plastic that makes it stiffer, and when it comes in touch with your skin, it's going to poison you. Ay, ay. Okay, so volatile organic compounds, stuff that's in the air that smells funny, like the dryer sheets and all of that. That's messing around with your endocrine system. Your hormones are suffering because of that. And so the kind of problems that people will encounter will be hormone deficiencies, like not functioning, relationships going bad, sexual function going bad, dysregulated this and that, obesity, diabetes, blood pressure, cancer, chronic pain, arthritis, headaches, all of that sort of stuff. Those are all labels for things that are caused by inputs. This is the environment and you having a interaction and you're losing. So toxicity needs to come out. So we have tools to get the stuff that's within you out of you, because they are the blocking factors that block the natural expression of your homeostatic control systems to function well. And the last bit is food. I call it malnutrition. Industrial food that's in our stores now and fast food restaurants or any restaurants is deficient, mainly because the methods by which we grow the food are overly industrialized. Herbicides and pesticides are toxic to you. They are toxic to the herbs, they're toxic to the pests, but they stay on it. They're just as toxic inside of you. Chlorinated water is your enemy because the chlorine is put in there to kill microbes. It will kill the microbes within you and dysregulate your digestive and eliminative system. So there are many, many ways by which you get broken down. And so if you are experiencing pain, loss of function, or decline on whatever, those are all signs that the industrial foods and environment is taking you down. And so the tools I provide is, one, teaching you about your body. We actually have something called metabolic typing, which identifies the biological individuality. We're not all the same. That's why you hear 20 different diets, and everybody who has success with that type of diet will say, oh, that's the way to go. Well, for their type, sure, but not everybody's their type. So we help you identify what you need to do to lose your weight loss or weight gain problems, lose your emotional dysregulation problems. This would be anxiety on one end and depression on the other, and anything in between, raging or procrastinating. Those are food regulated emotions that can be corrected. So all that.
All right. And people can find more information and reach out to you at life-enthusiast.com.
Yep, that's it.
All right. Well, with that, I think we're going to wrap up today's podcast. So, Martin, thank you very much for sharing your experience. And thanks to everyone for listening. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Focal Insights Podcast. If you like this episode, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can be alerted of new episodes. See you next time.